The Straw, the Coal, and the Bean, by the Brothers Grimm.
Once upon a time, in a quiet little village, there lived a poor old woman who had gathered a handful of beans. She planned to cook them for her supper, so she made a fire on her hearth. To make the flames burn faster, she lit it with a handful of dry straw. As she poured the beans into her pan, one slipped from her hand and rolled unnoticed to the floor beside a piece of straw. Soon after, a glowing coal leapt from the fire and landed next to them both. The three lay side by side on the hearth, warming in the glow of the fire. After a moment, the straw broke the silence. "Dear friends," she said kindly, "how did you come to be here?" The coal crackled softly. "I leapt out of the fire to save my life," she said. "If I had stayed, I would have burned to ashes." The bean sighed. "And I too escaped my fate. Had the old woman seen me, she would have thrown me into boiling water, just like my poor brothers and sisters." The straw trembled. "My fate was no better," she said. "The old woman gathered my family into her hands, 60 at once, and fed them to the fire. I alone slipped through her fingers." The three looked at one another with relief and sorrow, feeling their good fortune at still being alive. "What shall we do now?" asked the coal. "We can't stay here, the old woman may return." "I think," said the bean after some thought, "that we should keep together. We have escaped death once, and we should remain good friends. Let's travel far away from here, to some foreign land where we can live in peace." The coal and the straw agreed at once, and so the three strange companions, one golden, one black, and one small and round, set out on their journey together. They wandered happily through meadows and along quiet paths, laughing and telling stories. But before long, they reached a small brook that rippled gently before them. There was no bridge, no stepping stone, and the water ran too swiftly to wade across. They stopped, puzzled. "How shall we get over?" asked the bean. The straw thought for a moment and smiled. "I'll lay myself across the stream. You can walk over me, just as if I were a bridge." So the straw stretched herself bravely from one bank to the other, trembling slightly as she touched both sides. The coal, who was bold and fiery by nature, stepped forward first. "I'll go," she said proudly, and began to walk across the straw bridge. But when she reached the middle and looked down at the rushing water below, she hesitated. The noise of the brook frightened her. The straw began to quiver beneath her feet. "Go quickly, or we'll both fall," cried the straw, but the coal froze in fear. Then, in an instant, the straw caught fire from the coal's heat. She burned in two, broke apart, and fell into the water. The coal, terrified, slipped after her with a hiss and vanished into the stream, her life ending in a puff of steam. The bean, who had wisely stayed behind on the bank, saw it all and began to laugh, not out of cruelty, but because the sight was so strange. She laughed so hard that her small round body burst open with a pop, and there she lay, nearly split in two, gasping for breath. It would have been the end of her, had not a travelling tailor happened to be passing by the brook at that very moment. The tailor saw the poor bean lying there, split and broken. Feeling pity, he sat down beside her and carefully took out his needle and thread. "Don't worry," he said kindly. "I'll mend you as good as new." With gentle hands, he sewed her back together. The bean thanked him warmly for saving her life. But because the tailor's thread was black, from that day on, every bean in the world has a little black seam down its side. And so, dear listener, whenever you cook beans and notice that dark line along their soft sides, remember this tale of the straw, the coal, and the bean. Three unlikely friends who shared a moment of adventure, laughter, and fate. Though their journey was short, their story lives on, a quiet reminder that even the smallest lives can leave behind a trace of wonder. The end. You have listened to the story of the straw, the coal, and the bean by the Brothers Grimm.
If you want more stories like this, like, leave a follow or subscribe.